Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Tonight we have two guests. We also have two wonderful guests. Natalie, unfortunately, wasn't able to make it. That's okay. Life happens. She and Patty are two of our main counselors, licensed counselors. They run our virtual support group. They are part of our online support group. They are just amazing volunteers and a huge, huge asset to Everlasting Hope. So, sporting another shirt here that you can find on our merch. I just like a stand up like that. These are so comfy. And I know this one probably would only be for those going through infertility, but I'll wear some more Hope gear that's like for everybody. So all proceeds go towards our grant program for this. Speaking of grant, our grant application cycle is open. Information can be found on our website for that, and feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions. Don't forget to share and do our contest. It's pinned to the top of our Facebook page. And if you share these videos every night, you get 5 extra entries. So thank you in advance to that. So we're going to dive right in with Patty tonight and start our hi.
Hello.
I was looking back at our video. We did this together last year, and I was on call and got called into work, and it was still, it's like I said earlier, it's one of my favorite conversations. I personally and professionally am a huge mental health proponent advocate. No matter what you're going through, I'm just super big on no shame, go to counseling. I joke, I hand it out like candy to people. And so I'm trying to break that stigma, I think, as well, that kind of comes along not only with infertility, but with mental health.
Yeah, I was actually torn because my church is doing an online segment tonight on their Facebook Live about mental health. And so I was like, oh, I want to watch it. And I could be talking about it myself someplace else.
Yeah, that's so cool that they're even doing that, though. And I think now, I hate even saying COVID, but COVID, we're going to need mental health now more than ever. And I think, finding support groups, we'll talk more in a little bit here how Patty runs the Resolve support group here in North Dakota. It's located in Bismarck. We hope to start more. So if anybody is looking to start a support group, has a support group that we don't know about, we share them on our resource page on our website. We want people to feel safe. Of course, we have our Facebook support group. We know not everybody has Facebook, but we really want to highlight that it is a safe place. I love some of the comments in there, I just need to let this out on here because nobody else understands this, but anybody in this group does. And so it's a safe place to let those feelings out, to get feedback on something, just to share a funny meme or a nice quote. And then we also have our virtual support group. Since Resolve group cannot meet in person, we've flipped over to a virtual one. Right. And Monday at 7 p.m. will be the next one for that, which Patty will be leading. So without further ado, get on, people. Don't be scared. We don't even have to talk. If infertility maybe isn't on the heart at the time, we can talk about whatever it is that's, that whatever comes up. We just want to be a safe place to share, safe place to meet somebody that someday when we can go have coffee again together, that'll be just a safe place to go for that. So please join us. Please, please, please.
Right.
So Patty, I said already, you lead the Resolve support group.
Yep.
You are a licensed counselor. You also have a connection to infertility. So share as you feel comfortable with.
Yeah, well, when my husband and I were ready to start a family, it was, the usual thing of, okay, we, waited until we had the job that, we thought was good so that we can pay the bills. Let's get out of the apartment and into a house, let's, all these things, right? And be married for a while. Maybe we didn't want to just get into it right away, but then it just started, where once I got off the pill, my cycles just started getting longer and longer and longer. And which, was an indication of PCOS for me. So we ultimately, kind of went with that diagnosis. And so I feel like that was the right one. I know sometimes people are, questioning with that a little bit of, well, how do you know for sure? Or how does this look? And certainly I I wasn't really experiencing maybe a lot of the stereotypical symptoms, though I would say there was some of it that was showing up as I had, gotten off the pill. So I think the pill was really kind of keeping those symptoms at bay, because usually people are looking at, weight gain or maybe facial hair or acne, things like that. And so there was some of that, maybe not as much as people would think. Have never been an overweight person, but getting on metformin for me was the ticket that gave me regular cycles back. And so, we did medicated cycles trying to do that. We did IUI. I had kind of decided to take a break, because I think we all have that part too, where it's like, okay, for financial reasons, for life reasons, let's take a break. And so I decided to, I had actually kind of stumbled upon graduate school at the University of Mary in the counseling program. It hadn't been in existence for very long. I think I was maybe in the second cohort of students. And so I just decided, I'm going to go to grad school and take a little break from this. And when I'm done with grad school, we can, kind of get back on track with trying to build a family. But I did continue to take the metformin. So I was still having those regular cycles. And so I started graduate school in August, and that February I found out I was pregnant with my son. And
like, wait a minute.
Before then, I had my first pregnancy was a miscarriage. That was before going back to graduate school. So, and that was one where my cycle was just longer and longer and longer, and we had to, go to medication to bring that cycle on. And so I just kind of felt like, gosh, what kind of an environment was that this little baby was trying to even exist in, of just having these irregular cycles and then having to do that forced cycle starts. So yeah, so I went through the miscarriage, and for me with that too, I think a lot of us kind of take different things away from that. And for me, that was major with Hope. That was just because up until that point, after, a year and a half, it was at that point, I didn't know if that was even something that was gonna happen. You start to think month after month after month, is this ever gonna happen? And certainly there's some that have had that question for much longer than a year and a half at that point that I had. But so there was hope for me in that, where I felt like, okay, I know that I can do this. It's just, can I stay pregnant? And so then it was about another year and a half before that second pregnancy. And so now Henry's 8.5, and the infertility support group has been meeting for 8 years. It was after I had him where I felt like, you know what, I wanted to be able to talk about this when I was going through it. Nobody was talking about it. And so I felt really alone. Like, what are other people doing? Or this sucks. Does anybody else, struggle with this? Because otherwise you just feel like everybody's getting pregnant and nobody has to think about it or anything, because just people weren't talking about it. And then at one point finding out that some of my friends were going through it too and still didn't say anything. And so, and those things happen, and that's why I started the group, is so that for those of us who want a place to go to talk and connect with people, we can. If you're still not wanting to talk about it, then you don't need to join the support group. But for people who are ready to talk about it, with people that get it, that's why I wanted that support group to be there. And so then once I got through the counseling program and started doing counseling, I was just happy to be able to have that be kind of a specialty area that I could offer, where not even necessarily that we are doing lots of different crazy things with it, but at least somebody is coming into somebody who gets it, and they don't maybe have to explain to me what the different tests are that they went through, or what an IUI is, even at the very basic level. And people need to be prepared to do some of that if they need to go to counseling and they, are getting, I don't know, just anybody as their counselor. It's not that they can't help you. Just be prepared and not offended that you might have to explain some of that stuff because they just may not know all the ins and outs of that. So not just throwing out IUI and IVF and HSG and la la la. Like tell them what those things are and what that entails and what you're doing and, help them so that they can help you understand that stuff.
And just to, if I recall, Natalie and yourself do have like an additional training for infertility, I believe, and you were supposed to go to a conference in May too. Where I know it's like old wounds that are.
I know, right? Yeah, no. Yeah. Natalie and I were supposed to be going to Philadelphia at the end of May to go to a conference that's focused on infertility counseling, and so there's not many of those around. There's lots of different mental health conferences that you can go to, lots that are focused on trauma and anxiety and all those things. And that is super helpful and relevant even with the infertility stuff. But to actually have found a conference that was going to be
finally found one,
right? And then they canceled. The puppy's going to come jumping down on me.
I know. I was like, I think everyone. I hope everyone's outside that's watching. Like, get on your phones and sit outside, or turn us on while you're outside. It's like you have to take advantage of these nice days, which is why I'm like, okay, good. I'm gonna get a YouTube channel so we can like upload everything like onto YouTube afterwards. But
yeah.
So let's just start with maybe the support group part. Like, what have you found to be beneficial to those that come to a support group? Or the biggest takeaway, that kind of thing.
Sure. I think one of the biggest things, people have to understand in general with all support groups, the reason why we have them is because they see over and over again that it helps people to be in contact and connected with others who understand what they're going through, that you can talk about some of these things, like you and I will even be doing on here, where you'll see that, either one or both of us will be nodding as the other one is saying something.
And I'm like, I gotta quit that. But I'm like, yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Because we did it. We're like, yeah.
You're like, once you like open that door, it's just like, yeah, you'll get it. Like if you come to a support group or go to a support group, or you're part of one, you're just, or go to that first 3 appointments of counseling, you're just like, go.
Yeah. And so I think, that's one of the biggest things universally for any kind of support group is that people are able to feel like somebody understands what they're going through. Oh my gosh, my puppy is now digging because he lost his stick. That's about the last thing you want a dog to start doing, right?
New puppy to learn digging.
Right? So to be able to have that connection with others who get what you're going through, and where you feel like you're understood, somebody else can, validate what you're saying. Somebody else can be like, oh my gosh, yes, I get it. That's totally how I've felt with this stuff, Yep.
And let's start with also, how do you know? Okay, like I think I talked about this last year too. Like, when's a good time for someone just to start counseling? Perhaps with, I think I know my answer to that, but like to help navigate somebody through, like when's a good time to start counseling if you're experiencing infertility?
Sure. I don't know. Everybody would maybe have a different idea with that, because I think a lot of us feel like I can handle this. I can,
North Dakota tough, like the governor says. Yeah, we're North Dakota tough. I was like,
things.
We're German or Norwegian. So yeah.
And so, I think that's part of it, is that we put it off because we think like, oh, I'll figure this out, or I'll get through this, or this is just a bad point and it's going to get better. And so I think realizing that there's no right or wrong with that, I can go and start some counseling, and then maybe, I go kind of regularly every week or every other week for a while. And then things maybe feel like they've calmed down. So maybe then I'm going to switch to, once a month, I'm just going to kind of check in and, give updates on what's been going on, and so that might evolve. That sometimes I have people that, come regularly because there's a lot of stuff going on. They need a lot of support. Others that kind of fall off a little bit because not a lot's going on. And then maybe have to come back again, and kind of get back into the swing of things again. And that's okay, because the counseling is for you. It's whatever you need it to be. It's not this one size fits all of, okay, you have to do it this way and you have to do it at this certain time or when these certain things are going on. That's not what that looks like, so if I feel like maybe I just need a little bit of support, well, why not go in and get that from somebody who's not your mom or your sister or your friend or your husband, somebody else that that is going to understand in a different way, or that you can vent out some of those things to, that you're like, okay, I can't say this because it's maybe about my sister-in-law, and so I don't want to say it to my husband or whatever, that sometimes we just have those things that come up, and maybe some of those frustrations or hurts that we just need to share and talk through. And so, gosh, couldn't we do that at any time?
Mm-hmm. I know Abby won't care. I got to play with this cool feature, but she has a good thing she says on here. If we say we got it, we definitely don't got it. I'm like, yep. If I I'm okay. I'm fine. I'm okay. I'm good. I'm fine. Right. Really? What I want to say is so much. I want to say so much when I say that. So do you find people come alone? Do they bring their spouse with them?
So we've had a couple people bring their spouse, and sometimes that's been fine. And sometimes I've only had maybe a couple that has shown up, if it's maybe hasn't been a lot of people there. And so then we've just kind of had the support group that way. But kind of in general, people have liked it to just be the women who are there, because sometimes the struggle is about communication with their spouse. And it's not about that we come and, bash husbands or anything like that at all. Sometimes it's just like, I just don't know what to say or do, because I don't know if he's, feeling the same way about this, or I don't know if he cares as much as I do. And, sometimes they just need to say that out loud to somebody else, or just being able to talk through, gosh, how do I ask him, if he's okay, or how do I let it just be, that understanding that we're going to do this differently, and that's okay. Just because he's not crying and freaking out doesn't mean he doesn't care.
Right. And I think that's fogged by all the good old, if people are in treatment, or receiving medications, I should say, if they're in that route of their journey, then it's oh, you have all these extra hormones and medications, and it's, everything's level 10, or maybe it's time to talk about it. Are we going to do this next or this next? Or I'm feeling this way, you're feeling this way. It's hard to start that conversation because it's emotional. You have, it's just a very hard topic to just, hi, so how's it going? Are we going to do this or this? It's just not going to flow off the top without, level 10 sometimes, and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, how do I say it? Okay, people come to you for infertility. Do they bring their husband with when they come to counseling, or no? Just them alone?
That depends too. Some couples come together because maybe they're just trying to figure out how to navigate all that's been going on, or maybe the wife is struggling more and the husband's like, I want to come with you so that I can figure out how to help you with this, because I don't know what else to do. Or they're maybe just coming for support. I also see couples, though, for evaluations before the use of donor sperm or donor eggs. And so couples have to come together for those appointments, because I can't base that off of one person being like, oh yeah, we're ready.
Yeah, talk more about that. What does that look like? So
being able to kind of talk through, like, what has your journey looked like? You know, how did we get to this? Because usually we're not starting here with having donor sperm or donor egg be a part of it. You know, that's not usually the starting point. So we usually start talking about kind of what's the journey been to get to this point. How long have you guys maybe been thinking about this or talking about this with the doctor? What kind of questions do they have about it? Are both of them on the same page with feeling okay about it? Because there's kind of a whole nother level of grief that goes along with not being biologically related to that child. You know, we've been trying so long maybe to have this pregnancy happen and to get a baby, and now maybe one or both of us is not going to be biologically related to this child. And so
hold on, Patty. It says video interrupted, and we're having trouble streaming. How do I? Okay, I hit view on Facebook. Connect, continue to. Okay. I just has a post. Keep sharing. Hold on. I'm gonna
okay.
hit. Oh, I don't want to do this. See, there's a reconnect somewhere. Why is this happening? I'm having trouble streaming to Facebook. There's maybe an issue on Facebook. Let me try anything here. The content isn't available. Maybe I'll go out of it and we'll go back into it. And we'll just look and see what it looks like on the page. Why is this happening? They probably have like 800 people using their program. Oh, we just like literally disappeared on the page even? Okay, let me try ending.